So we just moved to this new house about 8 months ago, and I knew I wanted to install a security system. Now around that same time, the rumor was that eufy was going to be coming out with an NVR setup with PoE cameras, which is exactly what I wanted. Well, the rumors were true, and today I'll be unboxing, setting up, and testing their brand new all-in-one system to see if it lives up to the hype. So eufy is calling this the world's first network video recording security system with a local AI agent built into the OS. And as I'm getting things opened up, one of the main reasons people want something like this is obviously for the security, but furthermore, everything is local and doesn't rely on the cloud, and with no subscription fees, this is a one-time purchase and you're all set. The kit comes with 4 PoE CAM S4 units, and for anyone not familiar with the terminology, PoE stands for Power over Ethernet, which I'll get into later. These cameras do have a lot going on, starting with the upper 4K wide-angle lens that provides a fixed 122-degree view and can be manually tilted up or down. The lower part is a 2K PTZ camera, which stands for Pan, Tilt, and Zoom, and can rotate 360 degrees for complete coverage. They also have speakers for two-way audio, and the entire unit can rotate so you can put the fixed upper camera in the spot you want. Now again, PoE stands for Power over Ethernet, and this was an absolute must for me. You don't need Wi-Fi, you don't need solar, you don't need to recharge batteries, and the video signal is going to be constant since everything, including the power, is being taken care of by an Ethernet cable that'll get plugged in right here. Moving on, we have the Network Video Recorder, NVR for short, and this is the brains of the operation. It comes with 2 terabytes of storage but can be expanded up to 16. It has an 8-core processor that's powering the local AI, allowing it to do some pretty amazing stuff that I'll go over later on. Then back you have your power, audio out, USB-C, a couple USB slots, HDMI out for connecting to a monitor, your LAN with up to 1000 megabyte speeds, and 8 PoE ports that can be expanded to support up to 16 devices using a PoE switch. It also includes the power unit for the NVR recorder, a LAN cable to connect it to your router, an HDMI cable, and a USB mouse. And last but not least, you get the welcome information, the mounting hardware, watertight seals for the cables, and then 4 rolls of 19-meter long Ethernet cables that will connect each of your cameras directly to the NVR box. I'll start by getting the cameras mounted, and this of course will be completely dependent on where you want coverage and how you're planning on running the Ethernet cables to the NVR box. For this first one, I want to be able to monitor the front area of my yard. With my kids constantly going up and down the road and delivery drivers coming in and out, I figured this would be a great place to have coverage. The camera itself is super easy to install. You screw in the mounting system on the wall or the ceiling, and then the camera unit slides right on, and you can lock it in by tightening the 2 screws on either side. This is then where you can swivel the entire unit to get the fixed top camera in the position you want. For me, I want it facing out towards the front. As far as getting the Ethernet cable connected with the waterproof seal, I'll show you close up how it's done. First, remove the cap covering up the port. Then these are the 3 pieces you need. Take the smaller ring and slide that on the Ethernet cable. Next, take the longer section and slide that on in the direction I'm doing here. Plug the Ethernet cable into the jack and then twist in place the longer piece. Now you can take the rubber stopper, which is cut on one side, and wrap it around the wire and slide it up into the plastic opening. Finally, twist on the cap and you're all set. For this next one on the side of the house, I first screwed in a couple scrap pieces of wood to get the camera to stick out a little bit further so the downspout wouldn't get in the way as much. Then it was the same as before, screwing in the mounting hardware, attaching the camera, and then getting the Ethernet cable connected and waterproofed. For the third camera, I'll be more towards the back of the yard, pointing where we can keep an eye on the kids on the playground or trampoline. And I wanted this to jet out a little bit more so I could get some coverage on the deck, so I used some more wood to build it out. After that was done, I installed the cameras the same way as the other ones and waterproofed the connection with the Ethernet cable. Now really, I would say that the only reason someone wouldn't want this type of local home security system that doesn't rely on Wi-Fi connected devices is because of what I'm about to show you. Running a physical cable from the camera to the NVR box is not as easy as setting something up and running everything through Wi-Fi. But in pretty much every other way, this physical connection is far superior if you don't mind going through the extra work of installation. After making sure I won't hit any studs, I'll use my oscillating saw to cut out a small section in the wall at a spot that I'm pretty sure has nothing behind it except for some insulation. Now going to the outside, I'll first measure over from where the internet is coming in to where I made the opening on the inside. And then from there, I'll use a drill bit to make a small hole and then gradually work my way up to bigger ones until I have an opening large enough to fit the Ethernet cables through. Next, I'll be taking all 3 of my Ethernet cables from the cameras and feeding them through the hole. And you're going to want to make sure when you have everything fed through and secured on the outside as far as your cable management that you use some putty and some silicone caulking to seal up the opening so that no bugs or water gets in. Back on the inside, I now need to fish out the cables, and hopefully you'll have some insulation that you need to get through, but here you can see it shouldn't be that hard to find them and pull them in. These wires do get tangled pretty easily, so I had to go back and forth a few times, but it would for sure be quicker if you had another person helping with this step. Now at some point, I'll be cutting out a little bit more sheetrock and installing this wall plate cover, but for now, I'll be pushing the console up against the wall to start setting everything up. For my makeshift monitoring center, I'll bring a spare screen that I had laying around, the mouse that's included with the kit, a keyboard, and of course the NVR box. For the connections, I'll plug in my mouse and keyboard into the 2 USB slots, my HDMI that'll be connected to the monitor, the power for the NVR, my LAN connection that will go into my router which I have in the cubby, and then the 3 cameras that I currently have set up will go into 3 of the 8 PoE openings. When you first boot it up, you'll go through the basic setup process, selecting your language and time format, select your time zone, admin name, select your network access and DNS type, set security access, then your security question, and you're all set. And because everything's hardwired in, there's no additional steps needed and you're immediately able to see the camera feeds. Now before getting into testing, let's take a closer look at the UI and some basic controls. And since this isn't like your normal Windows OS, I can't do a screen recording, so I'll be filming it with my camera. In the Live View tab is where all your feeds will show up. With this particular model, your fixed camera is on the top and the PTZ at the bottom, where you have control over all the movement right from this small window. If you double click on any of the panes, it will take you to full screen mode with either the fixed or movable recording accessible from the top left. A single click will switch you between the two, with the transition being nearly instantaneous. Bottom right area is where you have some additional options such as switching the view if you want both displayed at equal size. Next, I'll click into the backyard camera and go over the zoom. So this clip does a great job of showcasing the zoom capabilities of the bottom PTZ camera. It uses a combination of 2 sensors as well as digital enhancement to get you all the way up to 8x. And once you play around with it, you'll see that 1x and 3x zoom will be the clearest, since those represent the 2 dedicated cameras, and then the rest is enhanced digitally. But this should give you a better idea of how well this can zoom and track at the same time. Settings will get you quick access to some of the camera's features such as HDR, brightness, contrast, frequency settings, night vision modes, and more. Back at the live feed, you can click on full screen and that will enlarge the same view of all the cameras. Live setup allows you to customize the main view by changing the grid type and then arranging the cameras in order of preference. I only have 3 hooked up now, but if you get up to the max of 16, you'll more than likely want to spend some time in here arranging things. To get into the more advanced complete camera settings, click on equipment and then the gear icon on the right. You first have your overview, but switching to recording mode is where you'll find all the customizable options such as when to record, mode, AI tracking, quality settings, motion detection settings, setting activity or privacy zones, and more. One tab over to settings lets you change the name, select audio preferences, set night vision options, change rotation speed, lighting options, notification settings, check for firmware updates, and more. I could spend a lot more time going over each setting, but I think most people will probably just want to see how the setup performs. So I recorded a bunch of different scenarios so we could go over some of the other features and to see how the system does with a variety of situations. This first example is me walking at normal speed around my yard, but it does a great job of showcasing all the camera's ability to work together to keep me in frame, starting out with the ability to lock onto a subject at up to 50 meters away. The cameras will try to center on the person and will automatically zoom in and out if needed. But what's probably their best feature is their cross-camera tracking. What this means is when something gets to the edge of what one camera is able to record, it's able to automatically pass it off to the next to provide continuous coverage. Here you can see as I'm moving around, the cameras are seamlessly passing me off when applicable. Next, I rode my bike around to see how it would do with a little bit faster moving subject. And it did a great job of tracking me from one camera to the next and kept me in frame. And if you remember, the top camera is the one that has the fixed 122-degree field of vision, while the bottom one is able to move 360 degrees and does the tilting, tracking, and zooming. For this next example, I decided to go for a quick jog to see if it could keep up with me. And yes, I am an incredible athlete. Now, if you've never had a security camera setup before, I want to set proper expectations. When you see 4K and 2K, you're probably used to how that looks on your phone's camera, where you can record in 60 frames per second. This, on the other hand, is recording at 20 frames per second. And yes, it does look sharp and good, but if you're expecting this to look as good as your iPhone or Pixel phone, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. Security cameras have to battle the storage issue, and it doesn't make sense for these consumer-based options to be able to have that type of quality, mainly due to the amount of hard drive space it would require. So now that we have a decent amount of footage, let's go over some of the cool stuff you can do with it. Playback allows you to select up to 4 of your cams, where everything is then put into a timeline. This will then let you jump around to different parts of the day where the dark blue indicates there was some action. But where the AI comes in most handy, and what I was most impressed with, was under events where all your recordings are stored. You can type in whatever you want and it'll pull back videos based on that input. For example, me typing in blue shirt triggers the AI to give me all the footage where it feels like a blue shirt was present. Next, I'll try typing in black hat and it'll filter to all the videos that meet the description. Having this type of AI assistant built into your local NVR box is a huge bonus, and it'll save people hours of time from sifting through terabytes of footage to find that needle in the haystack. I even tried putting in skateboard, and the AI was able to find the one time I carried my longboard into one of the shots. Now, another main reason I wanted to get this was for all the wildlife that we have at our house. Typing in deer, I'm able to see every time one came into view. This is super fun for our whole family to see what all we have passing through our property. We also have a bunch of raccoons roaming around, and we've been able to use this system to pull up all the footage of them out and about. Moving on, let's now focus on nighttime recording. Here's what it currently looks like outside. It's pretty much completely dark with no outside lights on. Using the infrared recording mode, you can see it's able to pick me up walking in the yard and track me just as well as it was in the daylight. Here I'll play some close-up footage of what the infrared recording looks like with no other light source on outside, so you can get a better idea of what to expect. Now, one of the crazy things is their streetlight vision, which somehow adds a color picture even when there's pretty much no light. I have all my outside lights turned off and all the lights on the cameras are off as well, and it's unbelievable how well it's able to do in pretty much complete darkness. So with the streetlight view, this is what it looks like through the camera. But when I go outside, as you can see, it's almost complete darkness. Now, you're definitely not going to get HD footage in this mode since there's so much processing going on, but the benefit of streetlight is when it's dark out, no one would have any idea that they're being recorded since there's no light shining on them from the camera. But my recommendation is to make sure HDR is always set to on, switch it to spotlight, and then make sure the light on the camera is turned on, and this will get you incredibly clear shots at night with this added light source. And for reference, this is what it looks like with that spotlight turned on, and here you can see how big of a difference this makes when recording footage at night. All the options will work, but if you don't mind having the spotlight turned on all night, you're going to get the benefit of full color versus just having it set to infrared where you get black and white, or streetlight where you have a lot more noise in the image. Now, I know some of you are going to want access to all of this on your mobile phone or tablet, so download the Eufy app, and once you're signed in, you can add device. Back on the NVR UI, go to Settings, System, and then Information. On the app, you can then scan the QR code to link everything together. And after a couple more steps and scanning the QR code one last time, you're all set up and you can now tap into your live feeds. For a quick rundown, tap on one of your cameras and you have a bunch of different options at the bottom, including the pan tilt control, which will pop up a virtual controller to move the camera around. From the app, you have the ability to toggle between 1x and 3x zoom. You can also switch to horizontal orientation if you want the feed to take up the entire screen with the same ability to control the movement. And you can pretty much do anything on the app that you'd be able to do on the NVR box, but make sure to set up your notifications since that's how you're going to get alerted to anything out of the ordinary that's going on. And if you're curious on how long notifications take from the time the camera spots me, the NVR box has a pop-up usually in about 3 seconds, and then a notification would show up on my phone less than 1 second later. Now, they also sent me out a couple of their other PoE style cameras that I'll be setting up around the house and connecting to the NVR box here in the next couple weeks. This gives you the ability to grow as needed without having to limit yourself to one type of camera, since different places might be better suited for different styles. Now, if you want to download footage off the NVR box, you can just plug in a USB jump drive into the back and then hit download and then choose the quality. Here I'm playing the downloaded video so you can get an idea of the quality. And I want to play this downloaded content so you get a better idea of what I'm seeing on the NVR box, because having to record a PC screen with the camera versus doing a screen record, you're not able to get an accurate feel for how good the quality actually is. So that about does it for this one, and this video could easily be over a couple hours long if I went over all the details, but hopefully this quick rundown gives you a good idea of what to expect and how this performs in case you're in the market for a home security system. And the fact that you don't need Wi-Fi, there's no monthly subscription fee, that everything's local and secure, and that you don't have to rely on solar or recharging a battery every month, and it has local AI, there's a lot of things to get excited about, and it certainly delivers on what I was looking for in a complete setup. Now, I'm not sure how long it's good for, but Eufy did give me a 15% off coupon code that I'll leave in the description, so make sure to check that out. Thank you all for watching, and as always, I hope you have a blessed day.
All right, who's gonna catch those fly balls?
We got.